Sandra Lee has been making semi-homemade meals since she was 9 and had to care for her younger siblings on food stamps. And if you think that's tough, wait till you hear about her breakup from Andrew Cuomo. Semi-homemade cooking with Sandra Lee was no flash in the pan, or flash in the microwave as it were.
Oh yeah, we're halfway there.
After premiering in October 2003, the show ran for 15 seasons before wrapping up in 2011. While it definitely wasn't for everyone, the appeal was obvious. Lee's cooking philosophy of using 70% prepackaged products and 30% fresh foods gave busy viewers the permission, nay, encouragement, to cheat a little when it came to whipping up a tasty meal. The show racked up impressive numbers during its run, debuting in the top 3 new weekend shows on Food Network and maintained this spot for its first 5 years. Lee told Time in 2019, it wound up being the highest-rated new show launched in the history of the network. While she was perfectly aware of the disdain with which some foodies viewed her cooking advice, Lee was insistent that her show helped people by providing shortcuts not only for meals, but hosting.
Now I'm gonna go change into a pretty party dress and I'll meet you on the deck in a second.
But like all celebrity chefs, Lee didn't just spring up out of nowhere. The road to semi-homemade cooking was a long one, and it took some unexpected turns along the way. Sandra Lee is the eldest of 5, but beginning at a young age, she acted more like their mother than their sister. When she was 2 years old, Lee's mother, Vicky, dropped Lee and her sister off at their paternal grandmother's house in Santa Monica, promising to come back soon. 4 years later, her mother finally returned to reclaim her daughters, alongside her new husband, Richard, with whom she had 3 more children. But after Richard left, Lee was forced to witness her mother, quote, lying on the couch, taking pills, and screaming at us. This left her with no option but to step up and become a paternal figure for her younger siblings. She wrote, I was 9 years old and I became the sole caretaker of our family. By age 12, I was doing all the laundry, cooking, cleaning, and grocery shopping. Lee's childhood was undeniably challenging. However, it did introduce her to a new concept that would later serve as a springboard for her entire career, making cooking as simple as possible. During the years that Lee was forced to provide for her siblings, she grew accustomed to scrambling to provide meals. She primarily fed her siblings through a combination of food stamps and welfare payments, which she needed to stretch as far as possible. She said, we made simple bargain cuisine, not because we wanted to, but because we had to. Surprisingly, Sandra Lee's first career success wasn't related to food. In her junior year at University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, Lee returned to California to be close to her aunt and uncle, who'd previously tried to adopt Lee and her sister Cindy. It was while decorating her rented room in Malibu with a piece of pink fabric she'd fashioned into makeshift curtains that her uncle suggested she try her hand at starting a business. So she did, later launching Curtain Craft. And even at this juncture, the approach was semi-homemade. She told Vogue, I used old wire coat hangers to create hooks and loops that I wove fabric around and created valances and curtain panels. Lee managed to save $50,000 to create infomercials to promote the Los Angeles-based business.
And you'll find the hardest part about working with Curtain Craft is picking the fabric that you want to use.
It was worth the effort, as she was later recruited by QVC, which sent Curtain Craft into the stratosphere. By the end of 1993, Curtain Craft had raked in over $6 million, and Lee was promoting it all over the world. Most famous foodies get their start at culinary school. Sandra Lee is no exception, even if it inspired her slightly differently than you'd expect. After traveling widely to promote Curtain Craft, Lee was exposed to gourmet food for the first time. She decided to sign up for a short course at the world-renowned Le Cordon Bleu cooking school in Ottawa, Ontario. As she told Vogue, the course taught her the basics of fine cuisine, but spent way too much time on the details, saying, we cooked bouillabaisse for a whole week. It was a total waste of time. That may have been an over-exaggeration, as Lee admitted that it did teach her the art of condensing recipes into their simplest form, a skill she judged far more useful to impart upon regular folks looking to up their skills in the kitchen. She explained, instead of making truffles from scratch, I realized I could use pre-made chocolate icing, adding extra confectioner sugar and vanilla extract.
It's easy, it's simple, it's semi-homemade.
After returning to Los Angeles, Lee began working on her first cookbook, Semi-Homemade, Cooking Fast and Fabulous, which established her as a maven of quick and easy meals. After Curtain Craft's success, Sandra Lee was named a spokesperson for construction company KB Home in 1999. 2 years later, she married the company's then chairman and CEO, Bruce Carrots, who was 21 years older than Lee.
I was always attracted to people who were much older than I was. Much.
This also effectively ended his first marriage, which included cashing out up to $30 million in stock options for the divorce settlement, months before they tied the knot. However, within just 4 years, things had soured. In May 2005, Lee filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. Their divorce was finalized in 2006, the same year Carrots abruptly resigned from the position he had held since 1986. It was eventually revealed that he had illegally awarded himself and other KB Home executives compensation from undisclosed stock options. After Sandra Lee's marriage to Bruce Carrots broke down, she began a new relationship with a now rather well-known person, Andrew Cuomo, who became the 56th governor of New York in 2011. The pair first met in 2005 when Lee's close friend, political advisor Alexandra Stanton, introduced them at a cocktail party. Cuomo was also fresh off a divorce. What followed was a 14-year relationship in which Lee was considered the semi-first lady of New York. The pair never married and remained relatively private during their time together. However, in true First Lady style, she did embrace philanthropic work and by all appearances had a close relationship with Cuomo's 3 daughters. Then, Lee and Cuomo split in 2019. Once again, this wasn't a drama-free breakup for Lee. While she remained quiet about why they broke up, Lee cryptically told Page Six in 2024 that Cuomo made a comment to her in 2019 that closed every window in their relationship. 2 years after Cuomo and Lee went their separate ways, Cuomo was accused of sexual harassment and misconduct by at least 13 women, with a purported insider telling the New York Post that Cuomo had been unfaithful to Lee. Between 2001 and 2013, Sandra Lee penned over 25 cookbooks. She's also turned to other kinds of writing, releasing her memoir, Made from Scratch, in 2007, and a romance novel titled The Recipe Box in 2013. The latter caused a stir upon its release. Its plot follows a recently divorced single mother who returns to her hometown to reconnect with her mother, rediscover her love of cooking, and rekindle a romance with a man named Mike Lund. Many presumed that it was inspired by Lee's relationship with Andrew Cuomo, who she was still with at the time. Several details, such as the love interest's appearance and the lead's pet cockatoo, an animal that Cuomo once gave to Lee as a gift, did serve as suspicious parallels to real life. While Lee admitted that the book took some cues from her firsthand experience, she stopped short of ever admitting Cuomo's influence. Appearing on Today, she only said that, quote, "Both Mike Lund and my sweetheart are very attractive men." In 2015, Lee was leaving a photo shoot when she received devastating news. She had ductal carcinoma in situ, a form of early-stage breast cancer. She quickly began researching to learn more. As she later told Good Housekeeping, "I started to understand how aggressive cancer is, and I decided to fight back just as aggressively." After undergoing a double mastectomy, Lee was declared cancer-free that same year. Since then, she's pushed for greater awareness of breast cancer and the resources she wished she had access to when she was diagnosed. In 2018, she produced the documentary RX, Early Detection, a cancer journey with Sandra Lee, following her disease from diagnosis to recovery. With the help of Andrew Cuomo, she pushed for the No Excuses law in New York, making it easier for women to access breast cancer screenings. She's also advocated for other states to follow suit.
When you show people what it really looks like, they can learn from your experience.
If you feel like Sandra Lee took a step back from the spotlight for a while, you're not wrong. Lee described her cancer diagnosis as a leveling moment, which made her confront both her personal life and the idea of aging. The next few years snowballed, with Lee grappling not only with her split from Cuomo, but the struggling health of her beloved Uncle Bill and Aunt Peg, the same couple who had tried to adopt her many years ago. While her uncle suffered from cancer and heart disease, her aunt struggled with dementia. Lee spent several years caring for both until they passed away in 2023. Lee took to Instagram to honor her uncle, describing him as my mentor, my protector, my facilitator, my confidant, my best friend. 2 years after splitting from Andrew Cuomo, Lee met Algerian actor Ben Youssef. Lee was dining at a restaurant in Santa Monica when Youssef, 13 years her junior, approached her and invited her out on a walk. From the get-go, Lee could tell there was something between them.
When I was in my 40s, I was bionic. I know. This is me at 50%. He can keep up with me, which is fun.
Still, Lee was apprehensive at first. As she told Us Weekly, she was intimidated at the prospect of a new romance after years of being single. Fortunately, things appeared to have run smoothly for the couple ever since. Now engaged, Lee's Instagram is a highlight reel of their cutest moments, and she's publicly gushed about the strength of their relationship. She told E! News in 2022, "We trust each other completely. There's no question that we can't ask each other, and the other one won't be completely forthcoming." As of 2024, Sandra Lee's TV comeback is in full swing. Not only does she host Roku's Dinner Budget Showdown, but she's also a judge on Blue Ribbon Baking Championship, a competition series that sees bakers who have previously won the prized Blue Ribbon from state fairs across the U.S. compete to win the ultimate Blue Ribbon, plus $100,000. Lee shares her judging position with Bill Yassis, former executive pastry chef for the White House. However, her role extends well beyond judging. Lee actually came up with the show's concept herself, having been inspired by the Great British Bake Off to apply the same model to the intense world of state and county fairs. But getting the show commissioned didn't happen overnight.
Because I created this show 12 years ago.
Before Netflix gave it the green light, Lee pitched Blue Ribbon Baking Championship multiple times and was repeatedly told that it wouldn't work. But as Lee pointed out to the Los Angeles Times, they said semi-homemade wouldn't work either. It just goes to show the power of perseverance. Sounds like yet another reason to break out the cocktails to celebrate.
It's cocktail time.